I don't think the government workers on average are very efficient. I'm sorry, I just don't. If you know Twitter can fire 80% of its staff and keep working, in my understanding, this will be the fourth time in the last 15 years that the government has been shut down. It was shut down in December of 2018 to January of 2019, right before the Congress took over, the new Congress. It was the 2018. It was a major Democrat pickup. And that was 35 days. That was the longest shutdown in U.S. history. 35 days, 800,000 government workers affected, furloughed. But the polling is not what you'd expect. And so we're going to look at that after a few things first. We'll set the stage, get a little context. That one was over funding for the border wall, in my recollection. Then I think the government was shut down in January of 2018 for like 3 days. Not a really long thing. That was some flap over appropriations. I don't remember what it was. Then we had the 2013 shutdown, which was actually, no, it didn't shut down in 2011, did it? No, it didn't. 2013. There was talk in 2011, but in 2013, the shutdown was 16 days long. Yeah. Again, not a big deal. Like one of the things we'll look at is how the press makes it such a big deal, and it's not. But to catch up, I mean, this is the feed from the Senate, and it's cut. They're gone. They went home. Looking at the live updates, it's like basically over. There was like a last chance vote at, how long ago was that now? About 7:30. With a 55 to 45 vote, Senate Democrats again block Republicans' bill to keep the federal government open and avert a shutdown expected to begin at midnight, because they won't let them pass the 60 vote cloture vote to end debate. Senators John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada were the only Democrats to break with their party and vote in favor. Senator Angus King, an independent from Maine who caucuses with Democrats, also supported the bill, which would have kept the government funded until November 21st. Like this was basically, in my opinion, a clean CR, just to punt, to buy more time to negotiate. And to rewind a little bit, basically, they tried to negotiate, and there are a whole bunch of Affordable Care Act subsidies that are due to expire, 1.5 trillion, some of which, not all, some of which contain healthcare for illegal aliens, sure. Apparently affects other Americans too. But however the negotiations went, I think would be fair to say that Trump was not happy with the posturing of the Democrats. And he, it is the art of the deal. And he knows when there's a deal and he knows when there wasn't. And so he walked away from the table and put him on full blast on Truth Social. And that was it. And so Chuck Schumer has been talking about how this is going to shut down, although my understanding was secretly he was trying to lobby some moderate Democrats to get a 7 to 10 day temporary CR passed, just to kick the can a little bit. I don't know, because again, it looks like negotiations are completely dead. And he was one of the people out there saber rattling about how they were going to shut it down. Now, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and I don't have time to follow all the pundits, but my take on it was basically Schumer had his bluff called back in March. He was going to shut the government down as well, and then caved at the last minute, and then he got brutalized. The Democrats in echo chambers like Reddit wanted him like stripped of office and pulled out, like they wanted him to resign. And of course, the polling showed, no, like America's actually okay with it, including a majority of Democrats. It's just the insane leftist echo chambers that want this guy's head. So I think he learned from that. And I also think behind the scenes, we'll take a look. I think behind the scenes, there's some ulterior motives. That'll be a running theme of the night. I'm going to tie that to our last story. And it's the best, saving the best for last. So please hold on out. And while you're here, please hit like, please share it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a comment. Just say where you're at. Again, if you have a question, put question, but just say where you're at, because YouTube adds up the little comments and it says, oh, people are watching and we're hanging out. We're having a party. We're having a poll party. So, yeah, the vote didn't pass because the Democrats, the Republicans could use the nuclear option. They could, vote by a simple majority to change the rules and get rid of the 60 vote cloture vote limit. And they could have kept the government up? That's a quandary. Oh, do we use the nuclear option to keep the government from being shut down? I don't think Republicans like the government shut down. Like, I think that's the context here. I think that the government is good for the establishment and they want to maintain the status quo. They don't want to upset anything. They don't want anything to get in the way of, the taxpayer gravy train that they're on, the contracting and all this other stuff. There's whole industries that thrive off the government. Remember the stocks of Booz Allen Hamilton and all those other contractors and how absolutely crushed they were getting when Trump got into office because the gravy train was ostensibly over. Yeah, so shortly after the Senate failed to pass a measure to fund the federal government, White House Office of Management and Budget, it's Russ Vought, issued a memo directing executive branch agencies to execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. So the government has instructed itself, the government, to shut down. Yep, Chuck Schumer saying the strategy is the American people are demanding it and would continue to do so. That is true. The Americans are demanding the government to be shut down, but the strange situation the Democrats in, as we will see, is that as of the last time we asked it, which admittedly was 2013, a majority of Democrats did not want the government shut down. It was Republicans and independents. And so I think the numbers would be even higher, but we'll take a look. John Thune sounded optimistic that more Democrat senators might break from their party to back the GOP spending plan. So these guys just want their bill through. They want the Democrats at the table negotiating because they can pay each other in favors. The Americans want the government shut down for spending cuts. And that's not what John Thune's going to do. Like, I'm pretty sure the Senate is going to approve a massive increase in spending. That's just the way these things happen. Government shutdown is hours away as Senate spending votes fail. Yeah, there were more than one votes. So it's going to happen. It is official. White House orders federal agencies to shut down. Now, let me caveat this. Like, I'm not a heartless person. I don't like the idea of people not being able to make rent payments. Is it going to be a month, though? I really doubt. I would love for it to be. I want this to go on for years. I would love the government to. We're going to save a lot of money. Like, I think we'll automatically be in a surplus. And like already, I heard behind the scenes from Steve Bannon in the green room that there's rumors going around that there's as many as 100,000 federal workers who are going to resign because they're worried about what happens if they wait and resign in the new fiscal year. That 200,000 that Doja axed might become 300,000 awfully quick. And right there, that's a heck of a lot of savings. I'll tell you what, the Doge savings last time I looked on the debt clock were approaching like 650 billion or something like that. I was actually really surprised. I don't know if that's updated, but yeah, I think like it's this weird thing going on. If you try and look and feel and breathe in what's happening in the leftist echo chambers, they want the government shut down. They really do. And it's because I think that they're accelerationists and they thrive on chaos. But at the same time, all of the people on Fed News are going to be bitching about how it's ruining their life. We could go maybe look at that and see if there are any people doing that. But when the Democrats have a winner, you can usually tell because you can go to politics, and that's what the algorithm for Reddit, the subreddit r politics, will pick up the things that they like. And right now, what they're talking about is generals criticizing Hegseth. They're talking about Republicans refuse to swear in newly elected Democrat over Epstein. Mike Johnson is delaying swearing in because of Epstein. Ted Cruz urges lawmakers. What? Ted Cruz accidentally urges lawmakers to stop attacking pedophiles. Yoink. Opening that in a new tab. Trump to America. Okay, here you go. Fourth one down, the shutdown. Back to the military stuff, back to Ted Cruz, back to Trump's mental state. They don't think that the shutdown is a winner for them. I think that they know the calculus has changed. Remember, it was very, very, very different in 2013. Well, 2018 was different as well, but people were a lot more chill then because the economy was doing better. Now it's like we've been through the Biden administration. There's a level of distrust and anger at the federal government. I think the left fundamentally understands that, and yet their accelerationist core still wants this to happen. And that's what makes me suspicious. I don't know why. We can only conjecture at this point. Maybe we'll come back to that Ted Cruz thing. But if you think you're happy today, if you think you're the happiest person on earth, just think to yourself, you could actually be this guy, OMB Director Russ Vought. Let's just take a listen.
I mean, estimate for us, give us some ballpark numbers here. We've already had some sizable reductions in force. Actually, there's a number 300,000 floating around for this calendar year. That may or may not be the right number, but that number is floating around. Now, if there's a budget shutdown, as our own chat program suggested, almost ineluctably will be a budget shutdown, then you have the authority to reduce the federal employee count by roughly how much?
Well, I'm going to let that those kinds of questions extend until tomorrow and the days after. Right now, where we are, we have hours to go before a government shutdown, and it can be avoided. And then we'll get in tomorrow. The preparation is all done. We have many options, but we're going to get in tomorrow and see where we are. And we're going to manage this shutdown and try to keep the American people from the havoc that the Democrats have caused on with their crazy demands. But let it be said, there are all manner of authorities to be able to keep this administration's policy agenda moving forward, and that includes reducing the size and scope of the federal government, and we will be looking for opportunities to do that.
And you've made that very clear to Mr. Schumer. It doesn't seem to move him, Russ Vought. That's what I don't understand. It will be worse. I mean, if I were he, and I'm most certainly not, but if I were he, I would want a continuing resolution and discuss all this stuff. I wouldn't want to hand the circular over to you, and he'll have to take some measures. This
is what I'm talking about. Like, Kudlow's an establishment guy, and he's like, we can't have the government shut down all the stock markets. The stock markets is like 10 freaking companies at this point. I really don't care what happens in Microsoft. I just don't. I don't really care what happens in NVIDIA. I really don't. It's like these people were through the COVID shutdowns. You shut their small businesses down. They don't give a crap about what your biggest donors care. And those are the people that advertise on Fox Business, these big megacorps. Like, screw you. No.
He's not going to like one darn bit.
Well, I think he's got some time over the next several hours to come back from the brink, to work with his moderates to get a continuing resolution passed. We'll see how these votes come up, and then we'll see where we are in the morning.
There's all these delicious articles out there about all of the things that Russ Vought can do out of the Project 2025 handbook. Atlantic had a really good one. I didn't read the whole thing, but, you know, I think that they know that this is their chance. Now, I see people saying it's like, you might want to consider what some of these government employees do. I bet most of you have not even heard of the DTRA. You might not want to fire them all. No, here's the thing. First off, it's like, this is a partial government shutdown. The executive branch has some ability to control who stays and goes. And it's like temporary furloughs. I don't think the government workers on average are very efficient. I'm sorry, I just don't. If, you know, Twitter can fire 80% of its staff and keep working. Listen, remember, I was a government worker. Like, I've been there. I've seen the belly of the beast. And I was in the nuclear Navy, which was actually pretty effective. And so, yeah, I'm sure we're smart enough not to shut down some completely critical stuff. But it's like, that's why Trump got elected. He's the executive branch head, and he now has more power to do the things that we've been looking for to do. Yeah, don't like to shut down the government. They are acting desperate, though, which is a bit different. Acting desperate, though, a bit different from the past. I agree that they are acting differently here. There was always this level of, like, you could tell neither side really wanted the government to shut down. And then you could also tell there was so much focus in the media on the blame game. And I'd assume that that's what they're doing now on CNN and MSNBC. But we'll look at the blame polling and have a really good talk about that. I don't think it matters. Somebody said, Scooby Jew, 169,000 resigned today. Interesting. If you have a source, drop it. I'd love to see that. That is wild. That almost doubles the amount of federal workers that are gone. What is there, like 2.1, 2.2 million? Be down almost 400,000 is a pretty big deal. Dave Nelson, the stock market tanks tomorrow. Well, maybe. I mean, I saw a CNBC article today, and it's like the government is going to shut down and the stock market's tanking. And then I went and looked at the S&P, and the S&P was only down 0.02%. What do we have? Where's after hour trading? Oh, I don't know. Is that the gray? I don't know what Google Finance looks like. 0.02%. Yeah, I mean, it's after hours, but I don't know. I can't find it. Maybe somebody can tell me what it's doing. I don't think it, maybe it will. Who knows? When we look back in April at the tariff stuff, people said that the economy is not the stock market, it's jobs. And in my opinion, the news has been pretty good for jobs because that H-1B thing, and we can argue about how effective it's going to be, that H-1B thing was really popular. People liked that idea and agreed with doing that.